Hey guys, welcome back to the Sideboard channel for this week's deck profile. I am so happy to show you one of the most fun deck that I have been playing with for the last few weeks. This is going to be the Lemon Lime Golden Frieza deck. What I'm really happy with when it comes to set 6 is the introduction of Chilai and Lemo as Frieza army, and they are green. So that means you have even more support for Lemon Lime when for the set 1 Golden Frieza army. If you don't know what the set 1 Golden Frieza army does, he needs a Frieza army, and he can pops it to untap 1 on his unawakened side, awakened side untaps 2, and then you get to draw a card. So a really powerful leader, very powerful effect, and that's the good part about this leader. So when the Lemon Lime, when green was introduced with more Frieza army cards, that's always a great news. Yep, and most of the cards are 2 or less. That is great because you can call it out with Frieza army, and then you have more target for your avenging Frieza. That said, without further ado, let's go straight into the deck profile. See you guys after the short intro, alright? Okay, let's talk about the deck. The sun is out, so I would like to get this thing done and hopefully maybe go out for a drink or two. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about the leader. The leader, if you have not known yet, he has an activate main, so he is a set 1 leader, so I don't expect too much from him. But being a set 1 leader, this card is great, and moving forward, this card is going to get greater because he just needs to place 1 Frieza army card. So activate main once per turn. You place 1, it's not KO. You just place 1 Frieza army card from your battle area into your drop area. If you do so, you get to untap 1 and draw 1 card. That's such a great ability. So you untap 1 energy. It does not have a restriction on which type of energy. It can be blue, green, or the multicolor cards that are coming. Yeah. And you can switch it to active mode. Then you get to draw 1 card. When he's 4 less, and flip over, untap. You don't get to untap, you get to draw 2 because it's set 1, and activate main once per turn. So he does exactly the same thing on the other side, except that he untaps 2. Yep, after this. So this is the deck. As you can see, you don't have really a lot of big heaters. You have just things that you can deal with on the board. You get to control the board, and at the same time make your opponent discard, and at the same time so just grind out your opponents with little small attackers. Yep. So let me go through the deck. It's pretty standard. However, there are some new introduction. For example, like the Chilai and Lemo cards, right? So these are the 3 cards that are new from set 6. This is from set 5. And from the set 6 cards, you can see that this is Frieza, Chilai. This is 1 card that I wanted to be in my hands when I start. So this card and this card, hopefully in my hands when I start. The reason why is because this card, even though she looks very mild, you know, she's just there and not doing anything much, but leave her on the table, your opponent would have such a horrible time going forward. So what does she do? Yeah. So when you play this card, you get to draw 1 card. So you tap 1, play her, draw 1, you sack her, you untap 1 energy, you draw 1 again. So that's really powerful for a turn 1 play. However, if you manage to leave her on the board, she gets to activate main. So for just 1 green and just 1 color, any color, so you get to choose up to 1 green Frieza army card with energy 2 or less from your deck. So it doesn't have to come from your hands. Any Frieza army card that is green with energy cost 2 or less, you could just play it, then shuffle your deck. That means you get 2 for 2. This and this will be your target. This is your best target because when you play this card, if there's a Chilai on your board, you play it in your battle area, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and drop. This is it. So if you use her ability to bring this one out, the reason why you want to bring this ability is because you don't -1 from your hands. You get to play 2, so you kind of didn't cheat it out, but you didn't lose your hand cards either. So that is such a good trade-off in my opinion. And you search for him in your deck, play him, and then your opponent has to drop 1. Swing with him, sack him, and then untap that 1 energy if need be. Yep. And what I like to do is sometimes if your opponent has a card that is very, very low in his battle area, so for example, the 1 or 2 drops that is 5k or 1k, you could play him, so tap 1 energy, play him, biding his time. So when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card with energy cost 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and switch it to rest mode. So you switch your opponent's card to rest mode, use him, then tap use 2 energy, tap her, you could sack him, then untap the 1 or 2 energy, draw 1 card, use her ability, bring her out, Chilai the Beautiful, use her ability to swing and try to KO your opponent's card. So if your opponent's card gets KO'd, your opponent has to drop 1. And then with Speedy Surprise Attack, we play 4 of this. Activate this skill when your opponent's battle card is KO'd. If Surprise Attack is not in place, so you can only have 1 battle. If you can only use this, you can have as many of them as you want in your battle area, but you just can have 1 using this skill just to bring him out and swing with him. So your opponent loses 1 card in his hands, loses 1 battle card, and then he has to deal with a 15k crit. That means in that round, either he starts to lose hand size, which he already is, and he's gonna further loses his hand size. If not, he's gonna lose a card, lose a life, and gain 0. So that's the deck. It's really, really fun. And so these are the small little heaters. And for this guy, he's a very interesting play, because with him, you could tap 1 and you get to choose up to 1. So you don't have to take your life if you don't want to, but you can, he's the way that you can self-awaken. So you can play self-awaken and swing with him, use his ability, use Frieza's ability, pop him, untap 1 or untap 2 and draw a card. Frieza's Call, it's very, very good in this deck because you have a lot of target. This are all your targets. This is your target and this is your target too. So for 1 energy, you get to pick so many targets from deck. The downside is that for this particular card, you have to play it in rest mode. However, it also makes your opponent, there are things that triggers and they don't have to be on in active mode. For example, like Chilai and Speedy Lemo, they don't have to be in active mode to be triggered. Avenging Frieza, no. Infernal Emperor, no. So you can get that effect even though they are in rest mode. So that's the great part. Even for this guy, you can tap someone for just 1 energy if you need it, if you don't have it in your hands. So 4 of this is a definitely must play. So with energy cost 2 or less and a Frieza army, there's just so many of them in this deck, right? So you could, if Chila is on the board, because she is the enabler for the whole entire deck, you can Frieza army call, Frieza's Call, put him on the board, and then your opponent has to drop 1. And use her ability, search him out from the board again, put it down, and your opponent has to drop 1 again. Sack 1 of them, and then untap your 2 or 1 energy, you get to draw 1, and then Dark Temptation Toa, and then your opponent has to drop 1 again. So this is the amount of cards that your opponent has to drop is surprisingly very, very underestimated in this deck. And with her on the board, that means your opponent has to drop even more if your opponent's battle card gets taken out. Okay, so that is the early play on how you can play it. One thing I have to say is that your biggest play comes during your untapping when you're gonna awaken. All right, so take note that this is activate main and this is activate main. That means that you don't want to do it on your opponent's time. You don't want to, unlike a lot of this untap draw 2 leader, this is a leader that you don't want to use when you during your opponent's turn, because you can actually use his ability, pop 1, not pop 1, you place 1 card, activate his ability, place 1 of your battle cards into your battle into your drop area, untap 1, draw 1, flip him over, draw 2, then use his ability again, place one of your battle cards to your drop area, and then you untap 2 and then you draw 1. And usually during that turn, you give so much pressure to your opponents with the small little heaters, 2 drop, 2 drop, 2 drop, 1 drop, that your opponent has a hard time dealing with it. Don't be scared to awaken early, because the earlier you awaken, the better it is, because untap 2, draw 1. And when he swings, he draws 1. That's really the better area, the better part. So don't be afraid to awaken early with this leader. He is good. You don't need your big turn for your untap 2 energy, because this guy can awaken any time that he wants. The earlier, the better. So he's such a great leader in that aspect. So I have already talked about how the early game goes, right? So what I'm going to talk about now is the finisher. How do you finish your opponent? 3 cards that you're going to finish your opponent with. The first one is this particular Frieza army. He is a Frieza army, so that's really interesting because he's Frieza anyway. Yep. So double strike barrier. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card with barrier, ignoring barrier, and KO it. So it has to be with barrier. So you cannot choose a card that has no barrier and then you pop it. The wording is very different from this guy. Take note, because this guy, it's ignoring barrier. You can choose any card and ignores barrier. But this guy, you have to choose a card with barrier. And he comes out if your opponent has a Grape Ape Baby that has barrier, or some big dude with barrier. It does not need to be in rest mode. When you play this card, KO that card. And if Chila is on the board, add salt to the wound, he has to drop 1 card. And then he is a double strike and he has a barrier, so you don't have to care about if your opponent is playing the other Broly that could pop it, but he can't. Oh yeah, the other Broly ignores barrier. Oh shit. So no, but this guy could swing for double strike and 20k. For 4 energy, you can play it safely at turn 4, because if you have one of the small little guys on the board, you can pop them and untap 2 energy for your defensive play later. Yep. The other 2 cards that I play, it's Mecca Frieza, Returning Terror. This is a set 1 card, one of the best set 1 card. Dual attack, and when you play this card, you can place 1 card from your hands. No worries, because your hand size is huge. No matter what, your hand size is always bigger than your opponent. With this played properly, your hand size is always bigger than your opponent's. When you do so, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card, rest card, 2 of your opponent's rest card in rest mode, battle card in rest mode, battle card in rest mode, and KO those cards. Then this card gains double strike. So 15k double strike dual attack. You might not think that this is a big deal, but it's quite big, because the pressure that your opponent has to discard even more cards just to block himself from this dual attack, especially if you bring him down to 2, the last 2 life, it's quite a big deal, because 2 times he needs to waste at least 2 cards from his hands or 2 super combos just to make sure that he is alright. Yep. And then one of the best cards out there for energy. Double strike. When you play this card, your opponent reviews their hands, choose up to 1 battle card among them, and your opponent plays the card in the battle area in rest mode. This is a very subjective play. I love to use him if there is nothing that on the board that there is no threats on the board that I have to take care of. This is one of the best cards to play, because for 4 energy, you slap down, your opponent reviews his hands so that you could take a look and to see what are the cards that he has. Then take his super combo, slap it down, and use him, like 20k double strike, and swing against the super combo. Your opponent, the worst thing that your opponent can do at that moment of time is to go minus in his hands to try to save their super combos. Super combos are usually 12k, so they kind of need at least 10k to combo out. So they're going to lose a super combo, or they're going to lose another card in their hands. And if they lose their super combo and Chila is on the board, they have to drop cards from their hands. So it's always a minus in his hands for your opponent, and your opponent will feel the need just to save that super combo, and then he goes even more minus. That's pretty pretty crazy. All right. So one of the reason why I play this particular Dodoria super combo, even though he's not exactly that good because he needs you to be 4 or less before he gets to 10k, is that Avenging Frieza actually helps to draw Dodoria. And there are so many times that I managed to Avenging Frieza to Dodoria. So many times. Like 2, 3 super combos in my hands before I even self-awaken. So if you're lucky. So that's a very safe play. It really makes you feel safe moving forward. Yep. So Cold Bloodlust, of course, and Time Magic. What I'm going to talk about right now is the sideboard. So the sideboard is not this conventional sideboard. It's more on suggestion that you can make changes to your deck. Instead of playing Towa, you could play either Shenron Figure of Majesty, so he untaps 2 and you get to draw 1, or you can choose a leader card or battle card, it gets +5. If you manage to go to turn 4 and then if you use this card, this is such a great card. If you manage to go to turn 5, but in this format it's so difficult, I would rather be a little bit more efficient with the discarding, so that's why I use Towa. For Shenron wise, he is a good card, but after play testing a couple of times, I don't really like it. What he does is that if you manage to cast it on turn 4 and then you survive and the game goes, he brings more values per turn. But honestly, in this format, if you can get to turn 4, you're pretty lucky already. Alright, so if your opponent has a lot of little small creatures on the board that you want to remove it out from the game completely, case in point, Vanilla Goku, this is the best guy. This is the best guy to go to because for 1 energy, you get to warp. Not in the graveyard, in the drop area. You get to warp anything that adds up to 5. Yep. And of course, if you want to go for more aggression, Scientist Fool, it's always your guy. So you could pick either 2 of this and substitute with this Temptation Towa. If you want to, that's totally fine. And for some games, maybe Flying Nimbus is the better negate. My local guys, they are not playing things that are so degenerate right now. They're not so meta, so that's why Time Magic still can do the trick. However, I know for some format right now, Flying Nimbus, it's definitely the better way to go. Yep. And against Broly, you need to pop them at the time that they are not ready so that you break the chain. Shocking Death Ball is definitely good ways to move forward. Actually, in my deck right now, I already played 2 Shocking Death Ball. It's just that I don't know which card that I took out. So that I kind of have no idea. So I already put 2 Shocking Death Ball and it has been great because during turn 2, when the big Broly is out during my turn, I swing, I just Shocking Death Ball the guy out. Not Shocking Death Ball. Death Ball the guy out because yep, so your opponent has to take care of this 15k, and then at the same time, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle card in rest mode and KO it, and hopefully he does not yet have the next card in the chain, and it's gone. Yep. So that is the deck profile. I hope you like it. Subscribe, comment, and then this is really a deck that I have so much fun with. I hope that you could give it a try. It takes some time to get used to it when it's the optimized play 2-3 times, but when you do that, I guarantee you, this is a deck that you are bring out time and time again during your locals just to enjoy your time, a good time with your opponents, with your local players. So thank you, and let's see each other in the next video. Ciao, bye.